welcome to Practical Magic Musings. I'm your host, Cassandra Bodzak, and this is the podcast where you can find rituals and wisdom for your most magical life. And today we have an extra magical topic. We are talking about the 8-8 Lionsgate portal. This is something that, a lot of us talk about new moon, full moon, have gotten into those rituals and those energies. And some of these more auspicious states where certain alignments happen, we might hear briefly that something's going on via the internet if we follow some spiritual Instagrammers. But I really want to take this opportunity to share via podcast a little bit about the history of this particular portal, what that even means that it's a portal, what you might be feeling during this time, and of course, how you can utilize this energy. As always, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, please give me a thumbs up. Give me if you're watching it on YouTube, give me a 5-star review on iTunes. It really makes a difference. It helps other people that would be interested in this podcast or listening about these topics get to see it. So without further ado, let's talk about this Lionsgate portal. So the portal opened on July 26th and it will end on August 12th, but its highest day, its most heightened day of the portal, the one that you're going to hear about the most and the one that I made sure this podcast was out for, is 8-8, August 8th. And this is like the pinnacle. This is a really special day, and the origination of the Lionsgate portal. So first of all, it's just, what is it? What it literally is the planetary alignment of the star Sirius with the galactic center. So it's an astrological alignment that's going on. That is what is going on. Sirius is about 2 times bigger than the sun and about 26 times brighter. So we see it. It's a really bright, fixed star. And in ancient Egypt, which is where this kind of Lionsgate portal begins, and which I feel like a lot of us that feel connected to ancient Egypt have an instinctive reverence for the portal. I feel like I always felt super connected with it, even before I knew a lot about what it was or what it meant. I always just, there was like kind of an unspeakable reverence I had for this date. And it was because in ancient Egypt, in the months of August, they would see Sirius in the sky, and because it is so bright and so big and so luminous, it was a representation to them of abundance and fertility. It was this time in the summer where it actually aligned over the top of the Great Pyramid, and so it was this beautiful, magnificent occurrence, and they felt like they were being blessed by the gods during this time with this reassurance and this symbol of all the abundance that was going to flow to them, that the crops were going to be good, that money was going to be good, everything was going to be good because of this beautiful symbol of divine fertility, of divine abundance, right? And so that's kind of the pinnacle of where it disseminates from, and a lot of ancient cultures beyond just Egypt also recognize this as a special time. And honor this beautiful conjunction in the center. And the Lionsgate portal, and when you hear me use the word portal, what I mean by it is really just an auspicious, energetic moment where we have an opportunity to receive greater downloads. We have an opportunity to receive greater amounts of light. Similarly, during a full moon, I always say that someone's like, it's shining a flashlight on your light. When we see like the fullness and the brightness of that moon, it's illuminating things in your life. And this is like 1,000, 10,000 times more powerful than that. So really thinking about, it's almost like this laser beam that's coming into your life, and it's both going to activate you and clear you. So a lot of us are feeling that and might have, I haven't been sleeping all week, which is not like me at all. And things are coming through, and sometimes we're going to be conscious of it, and sometimes it can feel like that. It can feel like you're electrified. That's also been a feeling that I've talked about with some of my girlfriends too. It's like we were kind of hit with a lightning bolt. And now there's a lot of clarity, a lot of things that need to be done, but also just a lot of energy moving. So a lot of the energy that's coming up around this Lionsgate portal is soul purpose energy. It is, what are you here to do? Are you doing the thing that you're meant to be doing on the planet right now? And really getting a lot of clarity and really getting a lot of illumination around that, and being able to see. And I know that this has been true for me, and you guys can probably see it, those of you guys that follow me, just with the launch of Practical Magic Musings and really owning a little bit more of who I am on the magical realm and what I love to talk about and what I have a lot of knowledge around. But all of us are getting really, really clear on if we're on the right track, and if we're not on the right track, moving towards it, getting things that are being flushed out right now. We're not serving our highest good. Things that we're looking at with a different vision right now. For instance, I've seen a lot of patterns that have come up with some of my clients. So if there's a certain way of being that perhaps they always handled their family that way, and they always allowed someone to, you just talked about boundaries on the last episode. If they always allowed certain boundaries to kind of be muddy, right now they're being called to really clarify those boundaries, to really do what they need to do energetically for themselves. Similarly, if your tendency is to play the victim or procrastinate or make promises and not follow through on them, whatever your little magical blend of self-sabotage is, if you think of it like this beautiful shower of like bright, powerful light, it's kind of coming in and clearing that ish out and really saying, okay, like we have work to do on this planet. We have things to do. We don't have time right now for you to really be, dilly-dallying with this low level stuff. Be still in this pattern, right? So it's a big upgrading. And a lot of us can feel that. I definitely think that had a lot to do with why I was cleaning my entire apartment this week, with why I've just been so energized. And so just noticing that, you're probably already feeling it. This podcast hopefully brings you a little bit more peace around what's going on, and maybe a little bit aha around, oh wow, that makes sense, why I've been thinking a lot about that. If you've been drawn to something, depending on where you are in your soul's evolution, depending on how many blocks you've removed, depending on how I often say, because people are like, oh, how do you just like go and do the thing, right? I got the hit. I literally got the hit the Tuesday before I relaunched this podcast in yoga class about this podcast. And it just came through really clearly. I was very surrendered. I heard it loud and clear. This is the time. People are ready for these stories. People want to know this side of you. You got to do the thing. I got my stuff together. I did the thing. By the next week, I started doing it. That is because I've worked through a lot of resistance and blocks around being able to receive and take action on my downloads, on what comes through for me. And so depending on where you're at right now might depend on how you're handling the messages that you're receiving right now. In fact, actually, I put up a thing on my Instagram asking you guys for suggestions around what podcast episodes you want, and I'm taking a ton of them. I have them all on a list to work through. But one of the things that came through, which will do an episode on in the future, was how to handle newly strong spiritual guidance. And I feel like that is exactly what the question is right now, right? Is I have danced with receiving this guidance and acting on it for many years now. And if you're newer to it, you might be in a different phase of receiving it. It might be the fact that you're hearing something pretty loud and clear, maybe louder and more clear than you ever have before. It might be that something is keeping you awake at night and you're thinking about, like, should I be doing that? Should I be working more on that? Should I be putting more of my focus on that? And my message to you around that is know that the messages and the things that you're thinking about right now, the things that are taking up your mind space, the things that are showing up on your plate, so to speak, that are making you look at them. It's kind of like if you've ever you're chugging along with life, right? You have, let's say, your relationship, your career, your fitness, all the stuff chugging along. And then during some of these auspicious times, one of the areas might get highlighted, like I had one of my girlfriends was in a long-term relationship, and during this Lionsgate portal, one of the things that kept on getting illuminated were certain characteristics um, in her partner that were worrisome about, moving further into marriage, having a kid, etc., etc. And just recently, this past week, they were magnified so much that it was like she could not handle them anymore. She could not address them. She could not, take action and see them. And that's what's probably going to be happening right now. So if you think about whatever area of your life, what is the thing that you're being called to right now? What is the area that's asking for a little maintenance? And for some of us, there might be something that we really need to release that's coming up that we're looking at as, a former way of being, a way that we don't want to move forward after this, we're kind of like going into the gate, so to speak, right? And if you think of I think of this golden arch, right? This golden arch that we're moving through in space, and how we're not going to be able to go back. I can't look back and be the person we were before this. We can't unknow the things that we're going to know. We can't go back to playing small. We can't go back to hiding the truth of who we are. And so much of this energy, so much of all light code activation, so much of all illumination in astrology for us is really showing us who we really are. It's not, it's not like something random that's going to completely push you off your path. All of this is to bring us back to our path. All of this is to help us get really clear on who we are and what we're meant to do in the world, and to be in alignment, right? Our consciousness is going to be raised. And when we hear that thrown around, we're raising our consciousness collectively. Yeah, we all want that, of course. But what does that look like, right? What does that look like? That looks like living with more compassion in your life. That looks like being able to respond from a place of love instead of fear when something triggers you or something comes up. That looks like you being more aware of the subtle energies at play in every moment. And for a lot of us, that's going to feel like being way more sensitive. You might have trouble right now hearing other people that are perhaps in a darker place. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be compassionate. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't, with our last episode, create healthy boundaries and be able to honor yourself and your sensitivity during this time, while also showing up in a way that feels good for you. So when we're getting these this kind of light activation that is, and I want to explain, what does a light activation mean? What comes through to me is really just that same thing. It's connecting us back to our soul. It's connecting us back to the truth of who we are, right? That is, I think we can make the words or whatever kind of seem a little bit more alien than they need to be. It's simply a natural raising in our consciousness and helping us clear out the parts of ourselves that are holding us back from our full expression. The full expression of who we truly are here as a soul is us being on purpose, is us being love, is us being higher consciousness, right? That is the truest expression of each and every one of us. And that looks differently, and it's going to play out differently in our lives for each and every one of us. But that is what it is. And so when we have these moments, when we're walking through the Lionsgate, the message that the ancient Egyptians got around fertility and abundance and illumination, it still hangs true for us. And the message is, the more that we stand in the truth of who we are, the more that we connect to that deeper part of our soul that knows we're here for a greater purpose. And to also just put this out there for those of you who are hearing all of this purpose, and and wondering, well, I don't know what my purpose is. Your purpose is to be love. Your purpose is to raise consciousness. That's all of our purpose. And we're all going to have different avenues from which we do that purpose at different times in our lives. And, part of my purpose could be this podcast. Part of your purpose could be an accountant. Part of your purpose could be being a mom or a dad. Part of your purpose could be brightening everyone's day when you serve them coffee at Starbucks. There are no small jobs, right? Our purpose moves through us regardless of what we're doing. Our purpose moves through us even when we're not doing a quote unquote job or we're not in our career. We don't have to be a life coach or an inspirational speaker to be living our purpose. It's not true. That's not what it is. So your alignment is coming back to that place of heart-centeredness, right? And especially during the Lionsgate, right? The Lionsgate. We talked about this a little bit, the new moon in Leo, about the courage to follow your heart, the courage to be able to feel the fear that comes. The Marianne Williamson has a famous quote, right? It's your. I can't even repeat it right now. I wish I had my cell phone to look it up and actually say it to you. But it's pretty much like it's not your darkness that scares you, but your light. It's your magnificence. It's just how glorious you are that terrifies you, right? And that is the truth. I think so many of us, we have an inkling at the least that we're made for big things, that we are magnificent, that we are powerful beings, that we have a divine purpose here on the planet. And it scares us. It scares us. The magnitude of the power of the seriousness of that can be terrifying and can really bring up a lot of our walls and a lot of the things that hold us back. And so this Lionsgate is also like that call to courage, right? It's also saying, can you receive this message, right? And I think that's what happens when we get scared, to reference that other comment from one of my Instagram friends, is that when we receive strong spiritual guidance, it can be really scary. Can be really scary. Another thing that I was asked to do a podcast episode on was my getting the divine guidance to move to LA from New York. And actually, now that I think about it, with this portal, it's very appropriate. Maybe I'll do that one soon. And it was scary. Of course, it's scary when you receive some major guidance like that, when it's like you have to move across the country, or it's, you have to break up with that person, or it's you're ready to step into this next level of visibility for your career. You're ready to shift careers, or you're ready to finally own the fact that you're going to be a light worker in a corporate setting, right? It can be scary. And oftentimes we want to question it, and we want, this is when we can go into like what I like to call as signitis, where we're asking for a bajillion signs for something that we already have such deep confirmation of inside. That was definitely part of my experience when I was getting the download to move to LA. So I'll share that with you as well. But during this time, and the reason why I feel so adamant about, getting on here, doing this show about the Lionsgate portal, is so that you can truly know and trust that, let's take it back to ancient Egypt. Like, if you were in ancient Egypt right now, you would know that you were in a sacred time, right? You would know that you were in a time of fertility and abundance and illumination, and that the messages that you received in your meditation, the things that were coming through in your life right now, were auspicious, were just as magical as this portal that you're walking through. And so therefore you could trust it. And if in your meditation a certain thing kept on popping up, there would be a reverence for what that was, and a seriousness that message was taken with. And I think that's a really powerful thing to give to yourself right now. Fortunately, right now, we don't live in the culture, at least here in the United States, I will say, where we take these kinds of auspicious, energetic events with any sort of sacredness or reverence. There's a very small light worker astrological community that honors them. And there's so much magic to be had. There's so much magic. That's definitely one of those ways we can activate magic in our own life, by just honoring the different energetic spaces we're in and how we can trust in what we're receiving. So the 8-8 portal itself, it is about that consciousness shifting. It is about being really conscious of our own energy field, right? It's elevating us to a cosmic consciousness and helping us tune back in to the energy field that we live in around us and how that is manifesting our reality. So this, if you haven't received it from the words that I'm using, fertility is another word for manifestation. Fertility is another word for creation. So this is a creation portal, a manifestation portal. This is a very auspicious day for manifestation. And so that's both you showing up with intention and honoring the thing that's in your heart, right? So when we think about manifestation, I think sometimes we think, okay, well, I'm letting my ego, or I'm letting my human, so to speak, choose this thing that I want to manifest, right? But if we can get into our heart center, super important at this time during the Lionsgate, when we get into our heart center, then we manifest the thing that our hearts desire. And your heart can desire financial abundance so that you can feel supported, so that you can do your good work in the world, so that you can live comfortably. Your heart can desire an amazing partner. Your heart can desire a new home. Your heart can desire all sorts of things. But when we get into our heart and we manifest from that place, we're manifesting something that was already impregnated within us, right? I say all this all the time. The desires of your heart are not random. They were planted there by a higher power. It's not random that you have a dream of living in the mountains in Denver and having a bread and breakfast. And it's not random that someone else is going to have a dream of living on an island in the Caribbean. And that someone else might have a dream of opening up their own community center in Greece. And someone else might have a dream of having a baby with the person that they love, right? And someone else might have a dream of having more vibrant well-being, right? These desires that we have and the consciousness that we have of them, right? So it's almost like you have all these desires. Go with me on this visualization right now. You have all these desires kind of bubbling up inside in your heart center. And then when we have these moments where these light codes are activated, where we have these auspicious portals that illuminate things, it's almost like there's like a fountain that comes from within and allows a couple of them to really rise, to like kind of gives them some levity, and they're kind of brought up to our face, and we have to look at them and we're like, oh wow, I've always had this desire to have X, Y, and Z, or to, have this be a part of my life, or to do this. And now it's staring me in the face. This wave of energy has brought it to my attention in a way that I can't ignore it any longer. I can't go back, right? That's what the beauty of these times are. And the Lionsgate, just like that call to courage, just like that that energy of the lion, right, is asking us to own our personal power and asking us to stand in our power, which goes straight back to the whole, illuminating the truth of who we really are and standing in who we really are. Being able to communicate honestly about the truth that's on your heart, being able to go after what you desire is a very vulnerable thing. And so with that, in order to exercise that level of vulnerability, you have to be living in your power. You have to feel so empowered. And the beautiful part of that, just like how it's felt since I started this podcast, and it's only been like a week or something, right? Is that you feel even more empowered when you're acting on that truth that's coming out, when you're showing up as more fully yourself, when you're doing the courageous thing. You feel more alive. You literally feel activated, right? When you're doing the thing that makes you feel the most alive. And oftentimes, I think all the time, when we feel the most alive, it's because of there is that level of vulnerability that's coming with it. if you think about it, when you really love someone, when you're in a really beautiful romantic relationship, you love that person so much, and there's a level of vulnerability with that love, right? We think about that, you give your heart to someone and they could drop it or break it or whatever, right? We think about symbolically, but there's a truth to that, right? And in so many ways, when we present who we really are, it's like we are holding our heart in our hands and saying, this is for you, and similar, whether it is in a romantic situation or even, like I said, in this situation with me sharing stuff on the podcast that I haven't talked about so explicitly before, you owning a desire that you have in your heart about what you want to share professionally, you being more open with a girlfriend and sharing something that perhaps that you've been hiding and keeping a secret, right? These are the ways that we give our heart, right? And when we give our heart, we also own the power of that gesture, because a disempowered person doesn't have the strength to be that vulnerable. And so it's owning our power when we stand in that light, when we honor those downloads, when we show who we truly are. And so what we also have going on is the North Node in Cancer is conjunct to Sirius. And I'm just looking at some of my notes here because I wrote the specific angles. So if you have your birth chart and you know where 15 degrees of Leo is in your birth chart, or 14 degrees of Cancer is on your birth chart, you want to look at that and just see what house it's in, or what you have around there. And it might be helpful to see what specifically is being hit on your chart for this Lionsgate. But the thing is, like I said, I'm a big, big believer. Obviously, I love astrology. Obviously, I find it fascinating. But I mean, chances are, I've actually done this with clients where I look at their chart and I'll be like, oh, so it looks like this moon, you're probably going to have a really rebuilding conversation with your husband. And it might be difficult, but it's going to be for the best, and you guys are going to have a deeper connection afterwards or whatnot. And they'll be like, I don't think, like, me and my husband are pretty good, everything's fine, don't worry about that. And then they're always like, believe it or not, you'll never guess what kind of randomly happened on Saturday. And then we ended up having this conversation. It was it was difficult, but ended up being great. And so I often say, like the cosmos give you the medicine, regardless of whether your consciousness to it. It's just fascinating if you want to be able to see that connection. Look at your birth chart. You can get a free birth chart literally just by Googling free birth chart. There's a place called Cafe Astrology that kind of gives you all of your aspects. I use that all the time. I'm not affiliated with them, but that's just what I tell people to go do if you have no idea where to get your birth chart. And then, okay, so then we have this huge illumination happening in Cancer. So what that means is that Cancer is really going to be clearing out our emotional body. So there's, as we're getting all this activation around what our soul purpose is, who we're truly here to be, refining that, getting pulled back on course of any areas that we might be dilly-dallying in the wrong thing. It's going to be so clear and so potent with what this Lionsgate wants you to work through. We'll also have this conjunction with Cancer, which, Cancer is our emotional body. It's our maternal relationship. So there's going to be a lot of maternal lineage healing. And, it could be something where, your grandma and your great grandma and your mom even have, a certain way of being that is associated with them, or a certain emotional patterning that you received from them that you're going to be breaking right now. So an example of this is like, maybe you come from a family where guilt was a tactic that was used, right? And so your grandma guilted your mom, introduced your mom, initiated your mom in the guilt tactic of allowing there to always be that guilt as a power move, right? And then maybe your mom initiated you in it, and now during this time you're really seeing that, oh wow, I don't need to use guilt to get what I want, right? Maybe there is a pattern of victimhood or a lack of boundaries, or a pattern of martyrdom, or a pattern of hiding their magic or their beauty, or numbing, right? There's so many different patterns, right? So again, noticing first and foremost what organically shows up for you around this, and then also taking that conscious choice and saying, "Hey, wow, I'm really seeing right now how my entire mother line has this patterning of people pleasing, right? That's a common one, I think, for a lot of us, right? For women, people pleasing and putting the needs of everybody else above their own needs, and then feeling drained, maybe having health problems, maybe always feeling underappreciated, and really looking at that and being like, all right, I see that. I see how I've received that. And I see the areas in my life where maybe that plays out, and I prioritize other people over honoring what I need and what's going on with me. And the buck stops here. And I'm going to let clear that patterning right now. You know, during the actual portal, it's a great idea to do a light bath meditation, or actually take a bath for it, right? Be in, I feel like a bath or going to the ocean or a lake or a body of water like that is just such beautiful Cancer energy, where we allow ourselves to be fully cleaned and nourished by water. So, something you may want to do for this portal tomorrow, or until the 12th, right? You still have that time to help facilitate and move this clearing through you, is to, one, be drinking lots of water. Two, if you can get to an infrared sauna or sweat in some way, whether maybe it's from working out, maybe it's from, doing something outside, or a sauna type experience, really helping your body detoxify, emotionally detoxify, because we hold our issues in our tissues, we hold our emotions in our body. So during this time, we really want to help our body get rid of them, and try to get sleep if we can, and take baths. Taking an Epsom salt bath, or a Himalayan pink salt bath, or a Dead Sea salt bath. Salt baths are so helpful in helping us move this energy and helping us recalibrate, and helping our energetic body at this time is clearing stuff. It wants to release stuff. So you might notice that with your cleaning, like we talked about. You might notice that by feeling so exhausted. You might notice that by eliminating more, right? You might notice that by breaking out. There are so many different ways that our body can clean itself. So you can facilitate that process by just doing simple things, right? Taking care of yourself, eating healthfully, drinking lots of water, even maybe putting some bentonite clay in your water to help bind and push any physical toxins through it as well. When we're showing up for the physical releasing, we're also releasing a lot of the emotional and the energetic, right? Our energy field is being released. And so you can do that light bath meditation as well while you're in a bath, or just as your meditation. And I believe I do have it on my YouTube channel for free, light bath or light shower meditation. And it literally, all it is, you could do it without listening to my guided meditation, is imagining just like a shower pouring over you, except it's light that's coming out, not water. And you're seeing it clean and clear and move anything out that's blocking, anything that's not serving you out of your field, so that you can really be a clear container to move forward, right? And that will bring you energy, vitality, clarity, and also, help you manifest help you reach the fertility of this time and what you're ready to create in this time, and really honoring that. The last thing that I want to talk about with this portal is the significance of the eights. So when we look at the number 8, which symbolizes the numerology, abundance, and fertility and manifestation, if we flip it, it also symbolizes infinity, right? That our connection to the divine, right? Our connecting to the divinity within us. There's a line from A Course in Miracles that I love using in meditation. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. So I offer that mantra to you for this Lionsgate. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. And the message that there is nothing that the divinity within us cannot create. And that we do have that power. That power is inside. And then also thinking about, when we think about the 8, the balance of it. If you put an 8 over your body, like if you imagine your chakra centers and you put the 8 over it, the lines cross at your heart center. And in the top of the 8, you have your higher chakras, and in the bottom of the 8, you have your lower chakras. And so what that symbolizes is, well, one, so you have your lower chakras are your earthly chakras, right? Your higher chakras are your divine chakras. And so practical magic, right? Literally practical magic, where we're balancing our heaven and our earth, our masculine and our feminine, right? You could say our earth chakras are more of our masculine, more of our masculine chakras. There are our chakras of creation, our chakras of security, our chakra of personal power, right? Our feminine chakras are our intuitive chakras, right? And so honoring at this time, as you're getting these downloads, as you're moving forward, as you're getting clear on, who do you want to show up as, right? It's kind of like that last like summer activation before we all go back to school in the fall. Even for all of us who are way too old to go back to school in the fall, where we're getting this activation that's saying, who are we stepping into? And so for those of you who might be in a questioning mode right now, you might be in like ultra questioning mode. And my advice to you, if that's you, if you're listening to this and you're like, I have no idea, I'm not getting any downloads, I'm feeling so uninspired right now, is to receive. Let it happen to you. Don't force anything, right? So during these few days of this portal, meditate. Go on nature walks. Take time. Give yourself space to receive. And trust that you'll know when you know. And it's almost like, I feel like I heard this saying growing up, like, you can't be kind of pregnant. You're either like pregnant or you're not pregnant, but you're not like kind of pregnant or like a little pregnant. That was it. You're not a little pregnant. Well, if we take to that fertility analogy, you can't be a little pregnant, right? Once the idea comes, once that message comes, once you're ready for that next step, like, you're pregnant, it's on, it's happening, you're going, you're on the train. And if you're not pregnant yet, there's nothing wrong with that. You're in that space of, there might be things going on a deeper level right now energetically that are shifting. So much of the quote unquote magic is hidden in plain sight. So much is going on the subtle realms that we don't even realize that we're shifting so much day in and day out. And then all of a sudden, in September, something happens and you react to it in such a different way than you've ever reacted to it before. And you're like, whoa, where did that person come from? That person that handled that with so much grace and so much ease and so much power? Because it was all of this subtle work that was going on this whole time. It was all of these minor energetic adjustments that you didn't even realize were going on. But if you show up to it, if you have some reverence during this time for your body, for your energy, showing up to your meditation, showing up to your journaling, taking some nice baths, doing the things to support your body through this, and even doing a ritual. You can, of course, I'm going to encourage a ritual because I'm all about rituals. In fact, tomorrow I will do an episode on a manifestation ritual, so you have one. But, doing something simple during this time, like lighting a candle, like we talked about in the we already have an episode out where I give you 3. Listen to the new moon episode if you're listening to this and you want some ideas for manifestation ritual, because any of those rituals would be applicable. Writing the thank you cards, lighting the candle, doing something symbolic. One of the things that, again, I feel like I want to talk to you guys for hours. I have so much to say, but we create the magic of the ritual, right? And that was confirmation. If you guys heard the little honk honk, we create the magic of the ritual. So I want to encourage you to just do something special. Maybe that for you is going in and buying a beautiful bouquet of flowers and putting it in the middle of your dining room table and, putting some beautiful candles or crystals around it and having that just be a symbol of you honoring the fertility and the illumination and the abundance of this time. Maybe you want to go out and buy some pyrite and put it on your altar, and that is going to be significant of the energy of this time. There's maybe you're going to not drink coffee for the next few days in an act of reverence for the energy that's flowing through you, right? There are so many little things we can do. It doesn't always need to be super elaborate, and I think that's the magic of it, right? Is like, how can we, and again, I offer this up. Can you connect with that part of you that maybe existed in ancient Egypt, that part of you that knows ancient Egypt, and ask yourself, well, what is something that I can do that connects me to that time when I knew how sacred this portal was, when I really showed up for it, and honoring that. Going back, I feel like I got a little off track. Going back to that 8 and the balance of the practical magic, right? So balancing our masculine, our feminine, our heavenly and divine, that is a big part of this initiation. And really seeing how both of them coming together, it's like, if we live from their top chakras, from our let's say more feminine, more divine, or we live from our bottom chakras, we're having a half experience. And one of the things that I feel is my purpose here to communicate with you guys and with all my clients is to realize that we are all completely divine and we are all completely human. And when we use both of them, when we use them together, that's when it's like our superpowers are activated. That's like what my entire practical magic training is about, right? And so this portal is also reminding us that the 8s remind us of that on August 8th, where we're being reminded that, hey, we need to use both our divinity and our feminine intuition and our masculine get stuff done earthly actions. And they'll meet in our heart center, right? They coincide in our heart center to give birth to something else, to give birth to the next evolution of us, to help us, create in the world, to help us manifest, to help us, manifest the truth of who we want to be and how we want to show up and the things that we're called to in our life. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. Please let me know if you liked it in the comments below. Let me know what reverent or sacred thing you want to do for this beautiful Lionsgate portal. And I hope you have an amazing Lionsgate. I hope you just enjoy the juiciness of this energy. And if you like this podcast, please give me 5 stars, leave a nice review. I realized I forgot to read them today, but I will read them on the next episode. And for every 25 reviews, I'm going to pick one lucky person that's going to get a free hour-long session with me, which is a really cool prize, not very cheap to do. And so I encourage you to, if you like this episode, spread the word, put it out there. I love seeing your Instagram stories when you're posting about which episode you're on. Please tag me. Please let me know what you're thinking about the episodes. I love your feedback, and I hope you have an amazing Lionsgate.